And then I run a program called Youth Empowerment Support. Yes, it is. And it's about immigrant youth, or generally, we don't really discriminate, but because of the resilient aim, the I in the name, we kind of dial down on immigrant youth because we want to be quote unquote selfish with our own.
Of course.
And we have to. So it's a program where we started off with a book club.
Okay.
So what I did in the proposal that I wrote was that we would pre-announce books if we could. And I know I went to Costco and they gave me a little sum of money. We bought books and we would give it out to these kids. They read it. Then we gather once every month on the first Saturdays of every month at the Lois Hall Library. They were gracious enough to give us space for free.
Oh, that's nice.
We don't pay because, we're a non-profit and we don't really have funding.
Yeah.
So we're kind of scraping by. But it'll be 1 year next month that we started doing this. And we come together with the kids. We sit down with them. We ask them their opinions, their perspectives on the book that we read. We kind of have a one-on-one interaction with them.
That's nice.
It's a safe space where they can just give their opinions and no judgment. And we also do some life coaching with them. I know we've done things. There was a session, this is my favorite one, where I was like, okay, walk towards me and introduce yourself. And, I wanted them to look me in the eye, walk confidently, shake my hand, tell me who they are, and ask me what the program is, and if they can sit down, things like that. And I would give them assignments like, go home, look your dad in the eye, shake his hand and ask him for $20 and come back and tell us what happened. Things like that. We want to, in the future, dial into finance. Because that is something, I read something the other day that the Alberta government is trying to change or introduce, let me not use the word change, introduce certain things into high school curriculum, which would include finance education and some home economics stuff. I don't really remember exactly what I read, but, I'm like, oh, okay, so we're on the right path with these kids. We want to teach them finance, because at the end of the day, it boils down to cents and nickels and dimes.
True.
If you, I wrote down somewhere that adulthood is all about balancing between income and expenditure.
Right.
That's all. Aside from kids and things like that, but the major part of being an adult is your ability to balance your expenditure vis-a-vis your income.
Right.
If we are not teaching these kids this from the get-go, when they become adults, there's no guarantee they'll be successful.
That's
so
true.
We want to make sure these kids, we give them the best that we can to make them successful with a little bit of a guarantee.
Yeah.
So that's what we do with the program.
Well, that's amazing work for sure. And you have, you decided this demographics, like why did you decide to work with youth as opposed to what, seniors or adults?
So when I was growing up, my father taught me an important lesson. I'll never forget it. So my dad wasn't exactly poor. He wasn't wealthy, but he had some means. So, but growing up, he made sure that everywhere we moved, there was a parcel of land somewhere where we would go and farm. This most significant lesson I picked up from that is that one day we were, you would plant a small piece of yam. When it starts to grow, it starts to bring out some, I don't remember the name now, but you have to put a stick and you guide it so that it goes, if you leave it on the ground, photosynthesis doesn't happen and the yam doesn't grow big. But if you let the leaves grow into the sky, a lot more of it will see sunlight. And then it translates to having bigger tubers. The man said, you need to guide these yam seedlings with that stick.
Wow.
And while he was saying this, he looked at us, my brother and myself, my younger brother, and he said, that's what I'm doing with you boys. It didn't make sense at the time.
Yeah.
We were all very grumpy. You wake us up in the morning
Of
on
course.
Saturday and you're like, go to the farm.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, he's late now and I can't tell him this, but Dad,
Well,
thank you.
no.
So, kids, all of us, we're all middle-aged now. We've lived, we take it or leave it, we've lived half our lives.
Yeah.
There's not really that much we can do for ourselves now. We're all set in our ways like concrete.
Yeah.
These kids are still in the mixer.
Right.
The cement, the sand, the water is still being poured in and mixed.
Yeah.
Most of them don't even know where the concrete will be poured.
True.
This is the time.
Um.
This is where we catch them. This is where we make them what we want them to be.
Right.
This, or not really what we want them to be. This is where we make them the best of what they want to be. For me, I can't become a soccer star anymore. My knees,
Are you sure?
my knees are starting to say, "Hey, man, you know, the most thing I can
too
do
late.
now is what my intellect can do." And
Right.
I'm not the smartest person. As a matter of fact, I don't even consider myself smart. The reason is that the day I accept that I'm smart is the day I stop learning.
I like that.
But that's a different thing. So
Yeah.
these kids, when you look at the ecosystem that they grow in, they don't farm, they don't do chores. I never gymmed in my life. All of this is from work.
Yeah.
Like straight down hard
Labor.
work
Yeah.
that I started doing as a kid. I would wake up in the morning, and when I went to high school, I lived with my uncle who was in a 4-story building in Onitsha in Anambra State. Every morning you had to go down, draw water from a well, climb the stair, because I had to, I'm very dialed into numbers. I knew that every morning I had to make 14 trips up and down the staircase to fill the container that I had.
Well.
And you had to do that when you came back from school. I went to a secondary school in Onitsha, Kes Foundation, where I had to go to school from 7:30 to 5 p.m.
Well.
Yeah, we had lunch in school. So you come back and you're not allowed to do your assignments in the class. If you're caught doing that, it's a problem. You must take it home.
It's homework.
Yeah, that's homework. So we come home, you still have to do those 14 trips.
Wow.
And then do your assignment. Kids now, as much as we want to say that could be abuse, it was formative for me. And we have to now, with all the technology we have, with all the things we have going on in the world, we have to be intentional in simulating. We don't want to abuse them, but we have to simulate some form of form their intellect. They need to understand that every coin has two sides. As much as we want to raise them lovingly and we say, "Oh, I don't want my kids to go through what I passed through."
Yeah, that's what we all say.
Remember that what you passed through is the reason you are who you are today.
That's right.
So if you can simulate, and I use this word with emphasis, don't go and expose them to the same conditions. Don't make them climb apartment buildings because you want to show them shaggy. No, that's not what I mean. Like even saying no to a child. Like even saying, yes, I can afford to buy you this, but I'm not doing it because it's a want, not a need.
Right.
You don't need it. Things like that.
Well,
So we need to, begin to understand that we're here now. That's a very poignant statement. We are here now. Doesn't matter what systemic racism, all of these problems that we experience as people of color, we're here. And these problems have to end with us.
if
You're a child, if I have generational issues, like I don't have generational wealth, I came here with $900.
Right.
If after retiring, my child is still saying she doesn't have generational wealth, something is wrong with me.
That's a problem.
And I may not necessarily give her $1 million inheritance. I don't have to give her fish. If I teach her how to fish, I've done something for her. If she can't fish, well, I tried.
Yeah, that's
But that's important.
yeah.
It's important that we teach them fishing.
Well,
Get the hook, get the worm, stick the hook in the worm. And this is not literal.
right.
You know, it's life. You throw it, you pick up the fish, you dress the fish, and you sell it, and you make money. You have to teach them this.